thing is the investment, amber won't work as well. If you really want to succeed, you need to go big with a battery. You can't go small. This is pretty much a small system in my eyes, 20.2 kilowatts, and it's not sufficient for every household. There's so many variables to consider. You've got the rate of discharge, the rate of recharge, which generally are the same thing, which ours is a 5 kilowatt inverter for the rate of discharge recharge. So those figures are also helpful, because if you have a 10 kilowatt charge and discharge, you can pull 10 kilowatts of solar into your battery and then sell it when it's $19 to get potentially half of the hour's value. So essentially for 30-minute window at $19, you multiply that by 5 essentially, and you get your answer from a 10 kilowatt inverter. So to understand that $19 thing, so $19 and you multiply it by 10, you get $190, divide that by 2, and you get the actual theoretical value you could get from like $19 per hour in a half an hour window. Just know that these windows tend to only last about half an hour, and then the fluctuations kick in, and you'll never make much more than that for a half an hour window for a 10 kilowatt inverter. But that's not our system. So ours is about 5. I would say 4 is what we can push out in a half hour window. It's 4 kilowatts, and I'm trying to remember, divided by 2 multiplied by 19 equals $38 for a half hour window at $19. And then it suddenly drops to $5, and you suddenly see all your power go out the window. It's a really interesting sort of gamey scenario to try and take advantage of this stuff. So if you want to succeed with Amber, you have to remember so many different things. Don't rely on volatility to make you money. Don't think about making money with it. Think about offsetting your own energy usage and using power and getting paid to use power. That's the way we try to look at it. That's the way in our household. That's the way it works for us. Look at Amber as a way to get paid to use energy, not look at Amber as a way to make money. Okay? It's the same sort of deal, but I mean it in a different way. I want to get paid to use power, because then I don't have to spend money on the roof. If I spend money on the roof, I'll get my power, sure, for free, and then I'll be able to store it in my battery, but then I have to export it to make money. Whereas if I'm getting paid to import, paid to export, that's 2 times I'll get paid. I'll get paid for cycling the battery. Essentially, I'll get paid for the recharge, and I'll get paid for the discharge. Those are the most advantageous times to be with Amber. And summer tends to be the period where you'll get those negative tariffs. Whereas if we go to winter, beautiful cat, his name's Max. He's very friendly, very loving, very affectionate. If we go to winter, we end up in a scenario where all the power prices are elevated, and everyone's using their own power in their house to keep it maybe warm, cooking and stuff. It ends up blowing the prices out the door, and then everyone on Amber will pay the price for their energy. To succeed in winter, you need a very energy efficient household. Even in summer, winter, energy efficient household. For summer, have some level of energy sink. So when there's a negative tariff, turn it on, use your energy sinks, use old appliances to pull power, to do something. And then use energy efficient appliances in winter, because that's how you win. We have a Cheek freezer over there in the corner, tucker box, and it uses 134 kilowatts a year. So that is like 250 watts a day in theory. That would be my theory for it anyway, which is crazy that it can use so little power. Because it has to use, essentially, you multiply that number by, no, you divide it by, what? Divide that number by 365, and that's your answer. So if I was to get Google or Alexa, that's 134 divided by 365. It will give you the answer is less than a kilowatt, way less. It's probably closer to maybe 0.3. Alexa, 135 divided by 365.
135 divided by 365 is approximately 0.3699.
That is 370 watts of power it will use in a day. Whereas this one will use way more. It's about a kilowatt a day. So, yeah, we use a lot of power overnight. Fun. So, hopefully this has actually been helpful for some people. My hope would be that anyone who knows anything about solar, who wants to extrapolate any data from this video, can essentially take that information, repurpose it into a better video, and provide a lot better quality content for people. As you might know, I'm literally using cardboard to hold my camera right now. I've already said that earlier in the video, and I mean, it works. It's working right now. It's not going to last though, unfortunately. And I'm also using the GoPro's army-based, telescopic pole, which is this thing. It's a GoPro, the whole lot's GoPro, and I don't want it anymore because it just didn't meet my needs and requirements. I really wish I could push out better than what I did. I mean, I envisioned myself doing such a really good video, much better video than this, but all of a sudden, I just realized I can't hack it today. And I feel like I have the information, I have the knowledge that I do want to just provide to people. And I wanted to kind of have a moment like, hint, hint, I hope someone sponsors a solar system for us, but not going to happen. So when I say I wanted a solar system, there's a couple of things. Doing all the homework to our property, we have majorly slanted roof here, over on this side of the house, and then on this side we have the same slant, and then we have the shed which has a slightly different slant. Now, from my experience, my dad has an 80 kilowatt generation per day with a 10 kilowatt system, so generates it generates more than they said it would generate per day. They said it would generate about 50 kilowatts a day. It generates 80 kilowatts a day, and that's in summer. Then in winter, it generates 10% of its capacity, I believe it was. It was anywhere from about 10% of 10. It generates, I think, at least 10 kilowatts a day, and then at most it generated, so it generates between 8 kilowatts to 20 kilowatts a day in winter. So what I learned from that experience and looking at my dad's system is it can produce power when there's overcast, which people say you can't generate power during overcast. Well, he did. He generated 10% of his capabilities. So 80 kilowatts, 10% of that is 8 kilowatts. I keep getting confused with this information sometimes, so I apologize. It's information overload. And he has a good Wii inverter with 12 kilowatts of panels and a 10 kilowatt inverter. He does not have a battery, and my recommendation to my dad was, because he has two solar systems, that's one of the two. The second one, he has the 5 kilowatts of panels with a 6.6 kilowatt inverter because of some discrepancy of getting the right inverter. And with everything I know about his property, I said that I advised that it'd be a consideration to go with a 100 kilowatt battery, because then instead of selling your power to AGL for 4 cents, you can then store it and then sell it for like maybe up to 70 cents in, well, actually it's more like 50 cents you're selling it for. And then they on-sell it for 70 cents. You sell your power for 50 cents to them, and then they'll on-sell it for 70 cents, and so on and so forth. That's kind of how the game looks and plays out. Part of the difference between your 50 and your 70 is there's, you know, the GST that they pay, and then there is the other thing that they pay, which is essentially the exchange charge. So when it exchanges between two companies, they have that margin to pay the transfer fee. So it's like account keeping fees or bank balance or something like that. So it's all the transparency isn't necessarily there for everyone to understand. And I wish it was. I wish it was clear. I wish it was like you could read a book and know how to start a motor on your whippersnapper or something, or get an electric appliance and immediately, boom, I can just pull the handle and it runs. But unfortunately, you can't just pull the handle. You have to make sure you put the battery in, turn the key, press some buttons, warm it up, and then you can pull the handles at the same time to unlock it, and you have to make sure you have the special key, and then all of a sudden she'll start to fire up and maybe actually cut some grass. But sometimes you get to that point and then it just doesn't work because the instructions missed a key detail, which is you need a key. And what does this key look like? Where's the key go? And all this fancy stuff. They are child protection keys to prevent a child from starting up your electric mower and hurting themselves or someone else or whatever it might be. That's what the key is for. So, fun, interesting. Look, guys, I want to end the video here because I'm getting a headache. I got lots of work to do. It's late, and I don't feel like there's anything really more I can provide in this video unless I structure the video correctly. And I don't really feel like I have time for it because I'm working on other things, like my business. So I'm going to let you go. I really hope someone can extrapolate the information and provide it to people in a more concise, clear, and transparent format that actually works. Look, Amber's not perfect. Amber can work. But if you are like in my position, you're on a pension or a DSP or something, and you want to get your pills cheaper, then it mostly, Amber will work for the people on disability support pensions or pensions in general, because you get the concessions that helps pay and helps push up your credits a little bit. That's what it does. But when you're not getting concession, you still end up having to pay. So all my information is credible until you're not on a concession of some kind. So if I had to estimate and guess, my best calculation would be essentially you would need 10 more kilowatts than what we've got, and you would need a higher charge and discharge rate to be able to make up the difference that we make. That would be my estimation, and yet it could still be wrong. So the way I look at it, you need 7.5 kilowatts with 30 kilowatts of batteries. To make that transparent, 7.5 kilowatt inverter with 30 kilowatts of batteries if your household usage is about 10-11 kilowatts per day. You have to find out what that is, or else you can't calculate the correct battery for your household. If you're on a DSP or on a pension, then you don't need 10 kilowatts more. You can have 10 kilowatts less and you'll still have a similar outcome to us. You may have a month or a couple months where you have to pay bills. Don't take out the credit and think you can just spend it because you're making money. Take that credit, put it into a high interest savings account and build some compound interest on that and keep the money going back in there, because one day it's going to come to bite you in the butt if you've spent that money and you need to replace the system, where you're actually going to have to pay the higher rates because you can't afford to replace the system, and then you'll be back to AGO again. If you don't want to go back to AGO, you don't want to go back to Origin, you need to have a long-term strategy and plan. I can't stress it enough. If you do not have these things in place from the get-go, you will not succeed. You need to have these things in place, and you actually need to stick to the strategy. You need to stick to the plan. You need to review it every couple of months, and every time you get a bill, review, because I can't stress it enough. Your biggest mistake is going to be when you don't look for any of the problems in your bills. If your bill is high, there's got to be a technical reason behind it. It's either you don't have your MRL set correctly, it's because your battery is too small, which ideally it shouldn't be at this point, if you're following the video correctly, and so forth. So if I was in your shoes, I would find out so many different parameters about your system, from what is your idle usage in your house. Idle usage is normally determined when everyone goes to bed, and it's the energy used when everything else is offline but your essential appliances which require power. That is your idle usage. That's the energy usage you want to always try to offset 100% of the time, because you can't turn those appliances off. You need to offset them to not have to pay for them. That means you're only paying for the appliance and not for the energy that they use, essentially. That way, you just solved one of your energy problems. Second energy problem you have to solve is how much power are you going to use throughout the day. Now, you either generate the power to use your power, or you store the power and then use your power. To understand which of the ones is best for your household, you need to work out your life and your work-life balance. When do you work? Do you work during the early hours of the day, or do you work night fuel? Depending on everyone else's routine. And if everyone's routine is mixed, you will want a solar system and you'll want to have a battery, because the solar system generates power for people to use energy in the house during the day, and which you don't have to pay for their usage anymore. Excess goes and charges the battery, and when negative tariffs hits, that will help charge the battery and get paid to put power back into the battery if you have the right system calibrated for your energy usage during the day. The only thing it doesn't account for is overcast days, and essentially if you're having bad days, that's what it does not account for. And you can't predict the weather clearly enough to know how well your system's going to perform. Now, once you've gotten to this point where you're mixed or you're not mixed, you figure out which one you go. If you're mixed, you get battery and solar. If you work night fuel, you get battery only. And if you work if you work night, you get solar and battery. But to clear this up, I'm making mistakes, and this is why I want to pack up the video. Works better with a script. Works better when it's planned. Didn't plan this video. When you work night fuel, you can sell all of your power in the battery and not have to worry too much about it. Keep the power you need for overnight in the battery once you know what it is, because I know you probably come home and you just go to bed. I don't though. I come home and I use the power, so I need the battery for nighttime. And when I'm home and I'm on the computer, say between the hours of like 10 and 4, and I leave at 5 to get to work at 6, that's the times that I need the solar system, because that little bit of power will offset my usage during the day rather than just going straight into the battery, because I want the opportunity of the solar system, I want the opportunity for the battery to be able to buy power at negative tariffs. If I generate the power, I'm just going to put power in my battery for the price it costs me to put the solar system on my roof and the value of it. It doesn't always work, and I can leverage everything better if it's set up the system correctly. We're also learning optimizing your solar positions and all that fancy stuff. So for me, having a small solar system isn't a bad thing. Putting the solar panels in the correct position, optimize it best for catering to your overall daily generation. For us, our best surface is not the one that's been advised to us by solar technicians. It is also one of the surfaces that will cost us the most money because we do not have the infrastructure to put the panels there. But we do need the infrastructure there anyway. So we're looking at about $7,000 to $8,000 for 3.5 kilowatts panels plus an infrastructure upgrade. Solar on its own is about $3,800. The infrastructure upgrade is a $3,500 thing that was already gonna be needed anyway when we've got some, cash to splash on that. If I were in your position, if I was at the get-go or whatever, I would be doing my homework. The only problem with trying to work out whether Amber's right for you or not is you have to have a feel for the platform, a feel for the market. You have to either know it yourself or know someone, because Amber's not for everyone. It won't work for everyone. And if you misunderstand how Amber works, if you misunderstand how the prices look on Amber, you can't succeed. You need to have a feel for it. And my feel for it is essentially, if I were without my concessions, I would need 30 to 40 kilowatts, and I would need to be almost double my inverter rate to be able to recharge discharge. I would also want to keep a 3 or 4 kilowatt buffer to buffer the battery, buffer the household's usage and offset it a little bit, and then I would take advantage of the battery's capacity by drawing power from the grid when it's at negative tariffs. And then when there's volatility, I will push as much power as I can. Now, to teach you something about volatility in this moment, and it's going to be valuable to you if you ever have volatility, it's out of 365 days, there's 7 days that it could potentially occur, and I'm not going to be specific on it because there is no specific days. It's generally about 7 days a year that it happens. When volatility strikes, there's a couple of things you need to think about. One is, how much power do you have? How much can you afford to lose? And how long is this volatility going to go for? And when are you going to sell? In my experience, winter has a lot of volatile days, and it tends to be the best months to try and make a profit off of it, because you have more days that it could generate, maybe somewhere between $2 and $5 during volatility of winter. For you to succeed during the volatile periods, what you need to be aware of is when you're pushing closer and closer to no energy left in your battery, and if you're home, there's two things you need to do. One is you need to override and sell if the physical price on screen is literally $20 something. If your return tariff is $19, you do need to try and just sell it. The second thing you need to do is be prepared to turn off the grid. Go outside and flick a breaker in the box. Accept that you're going to be turning off your refrigerators and your freezers and every other essential appliance. So the thing I will say in regards to that, if you need power in order to survive yourself, please disregard my advice here, because you need to reserve that power for you to live. That's more important than earning a few extra bob and offsetting your costs. You have to pay what you have to pay to live your life as comfortably as possible. Because in order to be successful in making a little bit of extra and pushing what your system can produce and provide you and your family, you have to suffer some dark hours. Then you have to wait 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and 30 minutes and watch every 30 minutes. It's annoying, and it's like micromanaging, which is not what people want to do, but it's what you'll have to do if you have a small system. If you have a much larger capacity and you have like 60 kilowatts, 80 kilowatts, 100 kilowatts of battery, you can look at me and be like, yeah, nah, I don't need to worry about this stuff, mate. I'm all good. I make $800 a month or whatever it might be. So good for you. You don't need to worry about what I talk about. but it's the people who really want to push and leverage what they've got. They really want to offset the cost of their system, and they really want to get ahead. Businesses do not succeed without taking risks. Businesses don't succeed without suffering a little bit. You got to hurt now to get the reward later. Okay? You're trying to leverage what you've spent on a solar system to pay itself off, then you want to leverage it further to then buy the bigger system. And the reason you want to consider this today to now is we're looking at about now currently 6 years until the newest batteries come out, which say they're going to be 100 kilowatt hour batteries that can go on the house. If everyone buys those 100 kilowatt batteries, then the value of everything starts going down. And if the price of those batteries is about the same as what I pay for my battery, then my value of my system is going to be down. I'm going to get nothing for it. And then this new battery is going to be replacing it and make my system obsolete. And then that's going to buffer the grid a lot more and perform outstandingly compared to my system. I want people to succeed. So take advantage of whatever you can from this video. Extrapolate the data and, make your own conclusions. You don't have to listen to me, but if people want to argue that it doesn't work for them, then cool, you're doing something wrong, because we're not doing anything wrong. We're actually in credit. Unlike all these people on the internet that I'm reading their messages, I'm like, people are losing hundreds of dollars a month to Amber and they're switching back to AGL. Heck, they don't have a feel for the market. They don't know what they're doing. They definitely don't know what they're doing. They definitely don't know how to communicate with Amber. They definitely don't know what this MRL is, and that's mostly Amber's fault. So I apologize for that. I want to make it very clear that Amber's not perfect. I wish I was on the dev team, but I'm not. I wish I was in the business, but I'm not. All I can tell you is I still kick their asses even though I'm a customer. And that's because they have a lot that they can give you, but it also takes a lot for them to succeed. And I want to make it clear, very, very clear, that Amber is not budgeting itself as good as it could. Amber says they get $19 per person per month. Let's think about how much an employee costs per month. Let's just say they pay an employee $70,000 a year. Maybe $100,000. Let's go with $100,000. They got to pay them about $2,000 a week, pretty much. Maybe a little bit more than $2,000, but let's just go with $2,000. $19 into their $2,000. How many customers do Amber need in order to pay someone's wages for the month? If they need, well, I said $2,000 a month, but that's wrong. It's $2,000 a week. So let's try to work this out. This is hard, but they need $2,000 a week, $8,000 a month. I think it is. Close to that. I'm giving estimates here. Alexa, what is $100,000 divided by 12?
100,000 Australian dollars divided by 12 is 8,333 Australian dollars and 33 cents.
$8,333. And yes, these people tend to get more money than you, and they would generally get told in the business world to treat each employee like they cost $100,000 a year. Even if they're getting paid less or more, I could be wrong. Okay, they could be getting paid more than $100,000. Now, let's try to work out how many customers they need to pay someone to pay for one person's wage. So, let's see. Hey, Alexa, what is $8,333 divided by 19?
8,333 Australian dollars divided by 19 is 438 Australian dollars and 58 cents.
So about 440 customers, and I hate that it calculated in dollars. So it's garbage, but anyway, that's about 440 customers to pay one person's wage per month. So they need 440 people per month to pay one person's wage. That is crazy. So per month, 440. How many employees do Amber have? How many customers do Amber have? I'm going to make the assumption that they have about 20 to 100 people, so they have around 40,000 people on the team. 40,000 customers. Australia has millions of people, and Amber under budgets themselves a little bit. But in saying that, they could be doing alright for all we know. But $19 just sounds like they're shooting themselves a little bit in the foot for what they're trying to achieve, a little bit. And their videos, I'll be honest, my videos aren't nearly as good as theirs, but still, their videos do not really give you enough information to be able to go and buy into their products effectively. It is a sales gimmick that they're essentially trying to sell, and it doesn't work. Why doesn't Amber just come along and make an informative video about how to leverage Amber instead? How you can make money, how you lose. All these people losing, well, they don't have a battery. That's a gimmick they can sell. If you don't have a battery with Amber, come on. Get a battery already, man. Got solar. Yeah, time to get a battery, man. Leverage your storage capacity, man. Yeah, to be successful with Amber, you need to have, an MRL of 35%. Oh, wow, that's so crazy. Nah. I know, I'm not making the greatest video in the world, and I'm not making the greatest point, because there is no planning involved. It's me just trying to throw some things out there, some ideas, some wording, some things that might make it, really silly, but at the same time informative. Try to be informative. Play with what people have given you. Show as a commercial that you're actually paying attention to people's scenarios, and not to be rude or anything, but we're making it clear that if you want to be successful, Amber is designed for people who have capacity. You have a rainwater tank. You have a vessel that you can store something in to sell at a better time or to support yourself. You need to be an energy plant. If you're not an energy plant, that's why you shouldn't be on the wholesale market. Shouldn't be. Now, when I say that, it's terrible because people have solar, they're generating power, and they're losing. A lot of people are losing. There's a thing called curtailing, and if curtailing isn't set up correctly, you're going to export at a loss. And I really, really want people to know this information. I really want people to be aware of this stuff as much as they can. I cannot provide all this information in a video like this or on the spot. I have to plan it. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of energy. It does not have no reward for me. So I don't have no real incentive to do these videos, but my other incentive to just make something anyway, for the fact that I'm doing a crappy video, is if people want to listen, if people care enough, they will watch the video, or someone who cares more than me will watch the video. They'll extrapolate the data, they'll retell the story, and they'll make sure people are aware of what's going on. They might even take what I say, they'll go and test it and prove it themselves, and then they'll succeed and tell you, yes, this thing checks out, and then this one thing fails. Then you can, they'll probably come to me and ask me questions like, I tried this, but it failed. Why did it fail for me? And then it's like breaking down what they've missed. And then they'll take that information from whatever corrective actions I can give them to solve their problem from my experience, and then they will either tick it off or put a line for it, like, I'm not really sure, guys, about this one. It works sometimes and it fails other times. And as a result of making a video like that, they can condense everything from this like 1 or 2 hour video or whatever it is into a really tiny package that you can digest. Because these kind of videos are very, 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 very hard to digest. And that's the emphasis on it. Very, 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 very hard to digest. So, now we're at the end of this video. If anyone out there has been paying attention, let's go again. Let's rewatch this video. Grab your pen and paper and start making little notes about every little thing. Once you've got everything down on paperwork, you can have cards. Draw on the cards, organize it in what way you want to tell the story, and have lines that draw from this item to that item, and organize it in such a way that it can be digestible. And test things if you want. Prove that I'm right, prove that I'm wrong. I mean, I'm happy to have a debate about it because I've shown we have the credit, and the only way I'm going to know whether or not I got something wrong with, if I'm not on a concession, is to test and prove something and to figure out the calibration actually is. So if you want, before you buy such a battery, feel free to get in touch and we can try to work out how to figure out what the right size system is, and you can try to get it right from the get-go. Just remember, you got to make your own conclusions. My advice is general in nature. It is not that I'm a professional, but I am experienced. I do have the technology to back up my claims and my stories and my stuff. But there's also a long-term repercussion of everyone going solar and doing these battery things, is when everyone has a battery, everyone loses. When some people have a battery, some people lose and some people win. So you've got to be one step ahead of everyone else, because the more capacity you've got, the more normal it will be for you to be able to replace the battery. You got to be many steps ahead of everyone else in order to win. And the battery is the only way to win in the game of solar, because with solar systems, you generate your power and it goes everywhere. You have a battery, you take power from everywhere and it goes somewhere and stays somewhere until it's empty, like a rainwater tank. I'm Michael. I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to let myself go. Thank you for watching.